Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. A few things here. A few things. Muse, MK Ultra, name of a Muse song. Uh, Breaking news holds this: FBI warns Iran aspired to attack California with drones in retaliation for war. So yeah, apparently, I mean, it's on Reddit, so take it with a pinch of salt. Right. MK Ultra, Muse. So MK Ultra. The reason Muse have a song called MK Ultra, and other people do as well. There is somebody else got a song called MK Ultra, but I can't remember who it is. Um, but inside the CAA's Manhattan Project for the Mind, MK Ultra, the experiment on humans, even children, the horrors of MK Ultra. So MK Ultra is mind control experiments done by the CIA, possibly in like the 60s and the 70s. It all come out in like some sort of tribunal commission or whatever. I think this video here will explain a bit about it. Now there's a butterfly here. This is Project Montauk, the Monarch project, to do with butterflies and sort of transformation. Again, multiple personalities. The Montauk project. It all kind of links together, to be honest. So the Montauk project is, I believe it's kind of what Stranger Things. I haven't watched Stranger Things on Netflix, but I believe that the first series, anyway, is the storyline was taken from real life events from the Montauk project. So this video is about the Montauk project, the Monarch project, and MK Ultra, which is essentially mind control. And what they do is, through abuse, they compartmentalize the mind. So you, in effect, have multiple personalities and can be switched between personalities, and all of the personalities aren't aware of the other personalities. So a lot of these celebrities, again, especially with the Monarch project, a lot of symbolism with celebrities back in the day and butterflies, etc. So a lot of these celebrities could be MK Ultra'd and have multiple personalities. Britney Spears would be a good example, to be honest. Britney Spears could have been an MK Ultra subject, and if the abuse is too much for too long, eventually the mind starts to break down and it starts flipping between these compartmentalized minds, and you lose control. So usually a trigger word would switch you between these minds. There'd be certain trigger words that would as soon as you say the trigger word, they would switch into another mind. It's very, very weird, to be honest, but this is what goes on, and this is what MK Ultra is. So you can switch people into different minds. People can have up to 3 or 4 different personalities, and each personality is not aware of the other personality. Now, Britney Spears, who keeps having these mental breakdowns, as we see here, and she's a lunatic on Instagram here, she is very much a high probability that she was MK Ultra'd, and what you're witnessing is years of abuse. It's took its toll basically now, and Britney's mind doesn't know where it is anymore because she's got multiple personalities. They're all drifting into each other at this point. One of them is a heavily abused personality, the one that creates the other personalities. So one of these minds, one of these personalities is heavily abused, and that's the one that, when they're abusing the people, you put them into that mind, abuse them in that mind, and when you flip them out of the mind with a code word, that mind, the mind they jump into, is completely unaware of the abused personality. So it's very weird and it's very fucked up, to be honest. But this is what goes on. If you abuse somebody enough, you can compartmentalize the mind and break them to the point where it's like a bit of Stockholm syndrome in there as well, kind of thing. It's very, very fucked up, to be honest, and it takes a lot of abuse to do this to somebody, like a lot of abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, and then once you completely break the person, You can give them multiple personalities. So again, many celebrities, especially the women, will probably be MK Ultra. Britney Spears, for me, is an absolute mega candidate for this, and you're witnessing in real time, like these compartmentalized minds drift into one another. She can't control it anymore, or her handlers can't control it anymore. When this happens, often these people are gotten rid of. So if Britney Spears dies in the near future, well, don't be surprised, to be honest, because once these abused people's minds start breaking, that it's easier to get rid of them because eventually they might talk. Again, a lot of the abuse victims in the Epstein cases will have been drugged when it happened, and possibly be MK Ultra and be abused in certain minds. And over time, as you get older, and possibly if the abuse stops, you can start to remember what the other minds have experienced, and it doesn't last forever. And this is why a lot of people are murdered, because as soon as they get old enough, they'll start to remember things and they'll start talking, possibly like a lot of the Epstein victims. So it's a lot easier for these people to kill these people than to put up with them breaking down in later life. So again, Britney Spears for me is a massive candidate for having been Project Monarch, MK Ultra kind of situation here. So we'll play a bit of these anyway, just so you kind of get the gist of what's going on. So we'll start on the Montauk project, and this is kind of, I believe, what Stranger Things, the Netflix series, was based on. It was based on real life events. So let's have a listen to this. The channel's The Law Lodge, by the way, nearly 750,000 subscribers.
If I had a nickel for every time we had a video related to this subject get demonetized, I'd have 1 nickel. So here's hoping I don't become any richer. I'm Aiden Mattis, and welcome back to the Lore Lodge. In June of 1992, a man by the name of Preston Nichols came forward with an unbelievable story, alleging that the United States government had been conducting experiments into the field of psychotronics. These weren't just investigations into the concept of remote viewing or telepathy, though. If Nichols was to be believed, then a military facility at Montauk Point on Long Island had been the site of experiments into weather manipulation, mind control, and even time travel. Now, it seemed far-fetched at first, but there was just something about Nichols' book which people just couldn't ignore, an intimate degree of familiarity with the details of the project. That only made sense. Nichols was very upfront about the fact that he'd been one of the technicians on the project, and though he understood that he would be judged for his involvement, people needed to know the truth. His first book, The Montauk Project: Experiments in Time, was his attempt at revealing that truth, and with its release, a new conspiracy theory was born. Of course, there were many people who doubted the authenticity of Nichols' claims, but that didn't stop them from retelling the story. After all, even if it was fictional, it was still interesting, and in fact, it might even be better if read as a science fiction story. Fans of Stranger Things will certainly agree with that assessment, considering Netflix's massively popular series is based upon the events which supposedly took place at Montauk between 1970 and 1983. Or at least the first season is. The inspiration for the psychic children, the portals through time and space, the abductions, and even the Demogorgon can all be found in the pages of the Montauk Project. Though basically everything after Season 1 is the Duffer Brothers' own material or from Dungeons & Dragons. The real version of the Montauk Project, if one chooses to believe it existed, is much more grounded. There is no Vecna, no Mind Flayer, no massive portal between worlds opening up beneath a small town in New York.
More people.
Program that saw American citizens abducted and used as test subjects against their will. It was hidden from Congress, done in secret on a derelict Air Force base where those who stepped out of line might find themselves banished into the past or the distant future. With a threat like that looming, it would be understandable if people kept to themselves about it just to save their own skin. It would certainly excuse Preston Nichols for staying silent for as long as he did, or even make him a hero for daring to speak out. According to him, though, it's simply because he didn't actually remember any of it until 1990.
Right, so the reason he didn't remember any of it till 1990 was because he was kind of MK Ultra'd, and again he had compartmentalized personalities that were completely unaware of each other, and this is how it works. Like this is again this story sort of explains somebody under MK Ultra that wasn't really like a Britney Spears or anything. He was just working for the government, doing top secret things. So he didn't go blabbing around about these top secret things to the Russians or anybody at all, really. Then you make him have two personalities, and the personality when he's doing the top secret information isn't his normal personality. It's mental, to be honest. But this is what's going on here. Like you compartmentalize the mind. So that's why he couldn't remember till 1990. This will all get explained in a moment.
Preston Nichols began working for Long Island-based defense contractor BJM as an electrical engineer in 1971. Now, that is a fake name for the company he worked at, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Sometime between then and 1974, though, he obtained a grant to study mental telepathy and determine whether or not it existed. And so he put together a subject pool of people who claimed to have psychic abilities. As his experiments wore on, he began to believe that telepathic communication actually did exist, and that it operated on principles that are strikingly similar to that of radio waves. That radio connection was further confirmed when, in 1974, he noticed a phenomenon wherein, at a very specific time every day, the minds of his psychic subjects would be jammed, and he determined that this was the result of radio waves coming through at a frequency of 410 to 420 megahertz. Now, he tracked those radio waves to the Montauk Air Force Station, which was home to an Eisenhower-era radar system known as SAGE. When Nichols approached to ask what was going on there, the guards predictably gave him no details. It was for an FAA project and nothing more. That didn't sit right with Preston, who couldn't understand what use such an antiquated system might have in the post-Vietnam world. After all, that radar system had been constructed all the way back in 1958, and by 1974 we had satellites orbiting all over the place. No, someone was hiding something, but there was nothing Nichols could do other than continue his research. That was until 1984, when a friend called to tell him that Montauk Air Station had been abandoned. Nichols wasted no time in driving over to the base, only to find it in an odd state of disrepair. The gate hung open, the windows and doors as well. Papers were scattered about, and military-grade radio equipment just lay strewn about. Eerie as it was, the place was littered with parts and scraps which would be very valuable to a collector and researcher like Preston, so he decided to take some of it home. Now, seeking to follow the proper channels, he reached out to the federal government's surplus disposal agency to ask what the procedure was for obtaining abandoned materials, but strangely, they were unable to figure out where any of this stuff actually came from. Nobody would claim it. After several weeks of back and forth, which saw both the military and the General Services Administration deny ownership, the rep from the surplus disposal agency gave him a number for a man named John Smith in Bayonne, New Jersey. Smith wouldn't tell Preston anything over the phone, but he agreed to meet in person, and he went on to inform Nichols that no one officially admitted to owning that equipment, and that, as far as they were concerned, they being the government, it was abandoned. That meant that Nichols could take whatever he wanted, but just in case, Smith gave Nichols a slip of paper, which appeared to be official, and told him to show it to anyone who questioned his presence in the area. Not only that, but Smith managed to get in touch with Montauk's caretaker, a Mr. Anderson, and enlisted him to act as a guide as Nichols explored the site. When he arrived, Anderson showed him around, it told him where everything was, and said that Nichols was welcome to take anything he could this trip. But if he ever saw him again, he'd have to kick the man out. That said, Mr. Anderson did make sure to let Nichols know that he himself went out for a drink every night at 7 p.m. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Within a week, Nichols made the trip out there, and he brought a psychic named Brian along for the ride. Once they got there, they split up to go their separate ways and look around for different things, you know, Brian being a psychic and all. And it was as Nichols was foraging around the base that he came across a homeless man. And that is when things began to take a bizarre turn. You see, this man told Nichols that he had actually once been an employee there, and that the base had been abandoned after a big experiment the year earlier, after which everything had gone crazy. Apparently, a big beast had appeared on the base and frightened everyone away, and that was why the place looked so disheveled. The homeless man, for his part, really never got over what he'd seen, and had been living in the abandoned base ever since. But the most staggering part of it all, at least for Nichols, was the last thing that this man told him. He remembered Nichols well, because Preston Nichols had been his boss. Now, of course, this man was living inside of an abandoned Air Force base and might not be the most reliable person, but he was still perturbed by the encounter. So he left this strange man and went to find Brian, who was having some weird experiences of his own. Something about the place just didn't feel right to him. So Nichols suggested he do a psychic reading, and was stunned when Brian spoke of irregular weather patterns, mind control experiments, odd animal behaviors, and some kind of beast, all seemingly corroborating the story that this homeless man had just told him. Thoroughly unnerved, the two men decided to finish up their actual task and get out of there, so they gathered up what equipment they could carry, and since they hadn't been allowed to bring a vehicle on base, they had to backpack all of it out. A few weeks went by after that without much excitement, but all of that changed when yet another man who claimed to know Nichols barged into his home lab, insisting that he too had worked for the man. Once again, the stranger revealed many details of what had gone on at Montauk, all of them corroborating what the homeless man and the psychic had told him, and yet Nichols himself still couldn't recall any of it.
Yeah, so, sorry to interrupt there, but very interesting, obviously. Yeah, so, again, this man, this is him on the top left here, Nichols. His mind had been compartmentalized, he had multiple personalities, they weren't aware of each other, and multiple people are coming up to this man, as you've heard, and saying that he was their boss on the Montauk project, and he is completely unaware of this because his mind has been compartmentalized. Yeah, I mean, you've heard some of the stuff there as well, like weather control, which we know very much exists at this point in time, but they deny it. But this is like the 70s and the 60s. So, I mean, the other stuff there about a massive beast coming onto the base, etc., mind control experiments. Well, the mind control is MKUltra, and he is also the guy in question here. Has been subject to these mind control experiments. That's why he's completely unaware of ever running the Montauk project. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely brilliant in a way. Brilliant story, you know what I mean? Not just a story, though. This is like a fact. This is a crack, you know what I mean? I mean, MKUltra got exposed. I think in this video we'll show you it. It got exposed in the 70s, MKUltra there. So, in like a Senate committee hearing or something like that. Anyhow, we'll get to that video in a minute. I mean, this video is 1 hour and 41 minutes long, by the way, so there's no chance I'm playing all of this video. Very, very good video. Obviously, I would recommend you come and watch it. I'm not going to play it all. It's getting interesting, you know what I mean? I'll maybe play till this section here, down the rabbit hole. I'll play till down the rabbit hole. I mean, there's the Montauk chair there as well. There's a crack about that. About Stranger Things, and I was adapted to Stranger Things. So, yeah, this is the crack anyway, so I'll play the rest of this bit anyway.
My personal involvement was evident, he wrote, but I still didn't consider it very seriously. That being said, he was puzzled by the fact that these two strangers claimed not just to know him, but to have worked for him. That second visit was what spurred Nichols to dive even deeper into the strange situation regarding Montauk, and so he set about gathering information. Nichols first brought several more psychics out to the base, and found that all of them confirmed what Brian had said. He then headed into town and conducted interviews with the locals, through which he learned that many people had stories of similar unexplained occurrences. 6 different people said it had snowed in the middle of August, animals had come into the town en masse and even crashed through people's windows, and there had been bizarre patterns of 2-hour-long crime sprees, followed by an eerie sense of calm. Teenagers were also seen congregating for 2 hours at a time, only to then mysteriously separate and go their own ways. While he gives no clear account of the timeline, by the time Nichols wrapped up his investigation in the little hamlet of Montauk, he was thoroughly convinced that something very suspicious had been going on the airbase. It was only when people began approaching him at ham radio swap meets that he realized the true scope of the issue. I had no idea who they were, he wrote, but I would talk to them and ask about Montauk. Somehow, dozens of people knew who he was, knew about whatever was going on there, and were giving him detailed information about what had happened and what his role had been. And yet, as Nichols recalled, everything was still a puzzle. Something was missing, and he needed to figure out what it was if he was ever going to find the key to understanding what was going on. That something turned out to be someone, and his name was Duncan Cameron. It was November of 1984 when Cameron came to Nichols' door asking for help with a piece of audio equipment, but that turned out to be little more than a pretense for contact. As they chatted, Cameron quickly became absorbed in what his host had been working on at the time, most of which was related to his research into telepathy. The visitor showed a keen aptitude for such work and was extremely enthusiastic about it, and he soon began working alongside Nichols. But though the help was welcome, neither Preston nor Brian, who by then was working as a full-time assistant, felt completely comfortable around the newcomer. In fact, Brian's sense that the man was too good to be true was so strong that he ultimately decided to stop working with Nichols entirely and went his own way instead. That, as it turned out, was the right decision. Though Nichols shared some of Brian's doubts, he still kept working with Cameron, and at one point brought him out to the old Air Force Base. Naturally, the man knew the place like the back of his hand, because he too had worked there, and he was able to provide Nichols with yet more information that filled in some of the gaps in his understanding of the true nature of Montauk. All that took a turn when they entered the transmitter building, however, as Duncan Cameron suddenly went into a trance and began spitting out information. It took Nichols physically shaking the man to snap him out of it, at which point he brought Cameron back to the lab in order to try and figure out what had happened. I applied techniques that I'd learned to help Cameron unblock his memories, Nichols wrote in his characteristically vague manner, and in doing so came to understand why Duncan had actually come to him in the first place. After peeling back layers of programming, Nichols got Cameron to admit that he had been programmed to befriend him, gain his trust, kill him, and then blow up the entire lab in order to destroy all of Nichols' research. Outraged by what had been done to him, Cameron vowed that he would no longer be a pawn for those trying to bury the truth about Montauk, and soon became Nichols' most trusted associate. Which was helpful, because it turned out that Cameron was an even more capable psychic than Brian had ever been. But the question still remained. Who was behind it all? More importantly, what did they need kept secret so badly that they were willing to go to the trouble of programming an assassin to go and kill a simple electrical engineer like Preston Nichols and destroy the work the government had already approved when they gave him the grant in the first place?
So, sorry to interrupt yet again. So, programming an assassin. Now, this goes into, I mean, some people that have thought that that's what happened to John Lennon, and the guy who, the Mancunian candidate kind of crack, and that the guy who killed John Lennon was a mind control slave and was put into compartmentalized mind, and one of them was told to kill John Lennon, and that's what he done. So you don't realize how fucked up the world can be till you realize what goes on. Do you know what I mean? Like, listen to some of the stuff that you hear and hear. Like, people with multiple personalities that are unaware of other personalities that they've got, mind control experiments, fucking weather control experiments, some sort of time travel was mentioned in there as well, like time travel experiments, and just somehow getting a massive beast on the base that scared everybody and brought it all to an end was the final crack. And multiple people have said that was what happened. So, absolute madness, obviously, but again, you know what I mean? This is what goes on. This is like Stranger Things is based on this entire event. So, I mean, it's very interesting. Like, the next sections, it's fucking, 13 minutes long alone, the next section. So I don't really want to start it, because again, this video will be long enough, because we have to get to the next video. So if you want to hear the rest of this crack, The Law Lodge is the name of the channel. Again, it's 1 hour and 41 minutes long, the video, but plenty of others. There's one here, the Montauk Project, the Real Life Stranger Things down here, I noticed. So again, a few people will explain what the Montauk Project is if you want to sort of look into it further, but I was kind of just mentioning it, well, for two reasons. One, how fucked up it can get, and two, goes into the sort of the MK Ultra and the mind control and the compartmentalized minds. And again, a lot like I think Britney Spears is one of these people who's been abused to compartmentalize her mind, but as she gets older and older, these minds are bleeding into each other, and the abused mind keeps coming through. So again, a lot of people, when this happens to them, celebrities, etc., they do murder them. They get rid of them because before they start talking and making fools of themselves and people asking questions, it's easier just to get rid of them. There's quite a lot if you looked into it. Again, people who think they've been like MK Ultra or the Project Monarch, etc. So we'll get into Project Monarch now. Again, this video is called "America is Under a Trance." It's on Mind Unveiled, and again, these videos are an hour and 11 minutes long. I mean, these are deep subjects; they really are. So it's the deep subjects. I can't say any more than that, to be honest. So again, they're both subjects on their own, but again, it's all one kind of subject. In sort of mind control is what we're ultimately talking about here, mind control. So we'll play this Project Monarch video now. Hold on.
Every caterpillar goes through a moment of complete dissolution. It doesn't become a butterfly. It first becomes nothing. A liquid, a formless thing inside a shell. And then it finds itself. Changed, something new, but entirely itself. What you don't know is destroying you from the inside out. Knowledge is our only defense against mind control. It's time to wake up. What if I told you MK Ultra never ended? The secret CIA project that ran on American soil from 1953 to 1973. We're all told that it ended in 1973. The Church Committee supposedly exposed everything in 1975. But here's the thing. What if that was a cover-up? A cover-up for a much larger and much darker operation. The kind that the American people could never be allowed to know about. From the surviving pages we know, the government was doing personality erasure experiments at McGill University. A Canadian government settlement proves that it happened. A 1953 letter to Sidney Gottlieb proposing experiments on what it called presumably unwilling subjects, including, and I'm quoting, implanting false memories. The CIA called that proposal extremely fruitful, and CIA officers attending satanic rituals and combining a hallucinogen called BZ with voodoo ceremonies to produce weeks of amnesia. That was documented in a 1977 Department of Defense report. That's confirmed history. You can read all of it. But if you've watched parts 1 through 4, you know why I'm bringing this up. There are parallels to MK Ultra that are showing up in what Epstein was actively researching and funding. That's the natural next step in this investigation. But this isn't a traditional MK Ultra video. That's already been done 100 times. I'm not trying to repeat it. But let's just remember the context here. So, if in 1962, you walked up to an American on the street and said, "Hey, did you know the CIA is secretly experimenting on citizens? Yeah, they're dosing people with LSD without their knowledge, and they're running personality erasure programs in university hospitals." What do you think that person would have said? They obviously would have called you insane. They would have said there's no way the government's doing that, and that's a conspiracy theory. Well, now we know that they were wrong. It was happening. They just didn't know.
Again, every conspiracy theory you've basically ever heard, or 90% of them, they're all true. You know what I mean? They're all true. Like, if you're bothered looking into them, they're all true. And the reason the whole conspiracy theory angle came about was just to cover up all the conspiracies, because fucking everything's a conspiracy, basically. I mean, look here to the right, the Franklin conspiracy, the satanic trafficking cult, America, again, I might make a video on that at some point as well. So yeah, I mean the Pizzagate conspiracy. You've got Watergate. I mean everything's a fucking conspiracy here. Like the economy is a conspiracy. It really is. It's a plan between people have conspired to fuck us all over by setting up an economy that's built on debt. Like the economy is a conspiracy. Fucking everything is. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the whole conspiracy angle was just made up and conspiracy theorists to try and make you disbelieve um, what's really going on in this world. Again, he mentioned there, if you said, I mean, he says in 1975, you could go and tell people in 2026 that the government was performing mind control experiments on people in the 1970s, and people wouldn't believe you now, even though it's a documented fact for over fucking 50 years. Do you know what I mean? An actual documented fact for 50 years. People wouldn't believe it now because these are the zombies. You know what I mean? The zombies. They don't believe the truth here. Yeah, the zombies. Hold on, play a bit more.
So my question isn't that complicated. If a program like that was running in secret then, what makes you think you would know if something like that was running right now? Because here's the thing. That part came after 1973. If it continued, it would have been a specific focus, not general psychological experiments. Something more targeted, perhaps even on a larger scale. Trauma-based conditioning, starting early enough in childhood that the brain itself forms around it, for the purpose of creating people who carry programming that they don't know they carry. For insurance, for blackmail, for intelligence, for control. But the real question is, what is the blue butterfly? By the end of this video, you'll see it. I'm talking about a secret project that was wiped from the internet. And I'm going to show you that it never ended. This is Project Monarch. The name Project Monarch is not in any government document. The name itself may have been invented, a label invented to describe something real that operated under different internal names. But that's what makes this interesting. Because if the name is fake, then why is the topic censored? Let me show you.
So, sorry to interrupt. He mentioned Epstein there as well. Again, this guy kind of made the video as well. And again, why I have it links into the Epstein crack. And again, abusing children. And again, if you abuse them enough at an early age, as it mentioned just back there in that writing section, yeah, you compartmentalize the mind. So they believe that they can abuse these kids, and that because they've got multiple personalities, they abuse them in one personality, and the other personalities are unaware of the abuse. So this is also how you kind of get away with it, because these people aren't even aware they're being abused, and they're being drugged when it happens in that personality. But eventually, sometimes these personalities bleed into each other, and the mind control, it doesn't hold. Again, I very much believe Britney Spears is one of these people, and her mind is breaking down, and has been for a long time, because she's been abused from a very early age. She's quite old now, Britney. She's about 45 or something. So, again, Britney will probably die young. Because she's a mind control victim who's breaking down, it would seem. And it's easier to get rid of her than to fucking look after her at this point, and risk the exposure that she's a mind controlled person. But they'll just try and put it down to drugs and alcohol like they have. But it's probably mind control problems, basically, like her mind's breaking because of the abuse that she suffered. So, yeah, but the Epstein people, the Epstein children, again, so another part of it is not only do they drug them while they do this as well, with like things that give you memory loss at the time that you're drugged, but also abuse, mind control, multiple personalities. I mean, it's really, really dark. Again, it's I mean, it's hard to. Again, I can't, like, honestly, it's really dark. Like the depravity, and like the sickness, and the abuse that goes on here. And again, it's fucked up. It's all fucked up stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's awful. It's absolutely awful. It all needs stopped. And again, the only way you're going to stop it is exposing it, really. So yeah, like MK Ultra, but this is why Muse made a song called MK Ultra. Trying, I mean, it's 14 years old, trying to tell you that there is this thing called MK Ultra. Again, what they were hoping is you wonder why they've made a song called MK Ultra, and you have a look to see what MK Ultra means. Well, when you have a look what MK Ultra means, it means mind control experiments, and that might lead you down the path of knowledge here to understand what really goes on in your world and how this leaks into like maybe Britney Spears and celebrity culture, people who are being abused in these massive fucking child paedophile networks like Epstein. But there's plenty more. Epstein is not the be all and end all of this. Again, he's probably not dead. This is continuing to this day. It really is worldwide. Yeah, and it needs again exposed and stopped. But this is again a lot of what I mean. I'm trying to think of other celebrities like the maybe in the comments people can think of like celebrities that it's usually women, to be honest, that start like going off the rails and then end up dead. Maybe like Amy Winehouse or something. You know what I mean? There's another one who's like kind of erratic and then died young. So again, yeah, like a lot of these celebrities are mind controlled slaves, and that's how you get them to do as they're told and play along with all the satanic agenda, with all the music videos, etc. Some will just sell out, to be honest. Some will just sell out in the first place. But yeah, again, I really do believe Britney Spears is an MK Ultra victim. I really do. I have for a long time, to be honest. Again, and she kind of but when she shaved all her hair off, if everybody remembers when she shaved all her hair off, that was fighting back against the people, against the controllers, and against this. She's supposed to be this beautiful blonde girl and sell millions and billions of records and be this sex symbol. Well, she shaved her hair off, so to go against these people that wanted to be all of this. Do you know what I mean? Again, so she got put under a conservatorship and all this kind of crack, and she's very controlled. So yeah, I really do believe Britney Spears is an MK Ultra victim. And again, she was like a Disney child. Again, been in it along since she was very very young. Even her sister was in it for a little bit, but I don't think her career took off. I'm not sure. I can't remember her sister's name now, but so a family are very much for selling the kids into the celebrity culture, it would seem. So I'll play a bit more of this anyway. Hold on. Jamie Lee Spears, maybe her sister's called.
First, search MK Ultra. Right? You'll get Wikipedia, you'll get articles, it'll explain everything. Confirmed, documented. Alright, now search Project Monarch. Notice the difference. You don't get a Wikipedia article talking about a program, you get a specific woman's name. And the first line of the page doesn't describe the history of it. It describes her as a conspiracy theorist who makes claims about a supposed government program. Then there's an academic quote already loaded on the page from a political scientist who specializes in conspiracy theories as a cultural genre. So positioning to destroy her credibility before you even read a single word of what she's written. This is actually different for other conspiracies. Search any other conspiracy, you get debunking articles, science explainers, cultural analysis. Sure, it might be hard to find the...
Yeah, I love it how you get like, that's what I mean. Yeah, but you can't trust Google, you can't trust Wikipedia, do you know what I mean? You can't trust any of these things, it's all like mainstream, like, you can't really trust YouTube, to be honest. You can't trust Facebook, you can't trust TikTok, you can't trust Instagram. Instagram's owned by Facebook, YouTube's owned by Google. Again, it's the monopoly, like they've bought all of this, they own everything, this is kind of what's happened, you know, we mentioned this before. So you can't trust any of these like mainstream fucking things. Like you can't probably even trust, again, I showed the Illuminati cards there when I done that little walk a while ago. And again, it had like the mainstream media, the tabloid press, the fucking the backstreet media, like all of the media, and like even the ones that you think are like on your team. You know what I mean? We'll control every revolution against you here. And they've got the AI for years that can literally scour the internet and remove things. I mean, this guy mentions here, I think, in a moment, that before 2010, and I've mentioned this before, like all the videos I learned all this stuff from, except maybe like that Ring of Power I mentioned the other day. They've all been deleted because on 2010, Google and YouTube brought in some sort of like censor thing, and it started removing loads of videos, and yeah, it took a lot down in like 2010. I kind of learned all this in like 2005, from 2005. So I got like 5 years of all the original documentaries here that had a lot of detail in them. A lot of the people have died that brought forth the information. Again, they were quite old and had lived through it all. And yeah, a lot of them have died and it's been removed. But again, well, people keep coming, you know what I mean? Fuck them. We'll keep telling the truth. We'll just pass on the information. We'll remember what these people told us, you know what I mean? And we'll pass it on. So here's a debunk of the Illuminati, Bavarian Illuminati, 1976. Yeah, of course, that's when it was set up in Germany there, in Bavaria. And again, somebody got hit by lightning, and was that the plans were exposed. But that doesn't mean that was the end of the Illuminati, you know what I mean? That just means the plans were exposed and they went underground there. So, again, they still use the symbols to this day. It's on the American dollar there. We show it. So, yeah, again, these people aren't so much called the Illuminati, though. Again, they've got other, like the Freemasons, the Fabian Society, the fucking Skull and Bones, all of these other things, you know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of secret societies, the Club of Rome, the Trilateral Commission, the Committee of 300, all these things, the Bilderberg Group. Like, there's plenty of entities that these people knock about in. We just call them the Illuminati because it's a general term. To summarize, it's easier than saying all of them things, you know what I mean? So, let's play a little bit more of this. Yeah, but again, all this is done for the zombies, you know what I mean? The zombies who, like, this is the extent of the zombies looking into something, typing it in on Google, seeing what it says there, and then that's it. Oh, well, that's me done here. I've absolutely looked into that. So that's the zombies for you, you know what I mean? And again, it absolutely works. That's why the zombies exist. So I'll play a bit more.
Videos, but the normal treatment for something outside the mainstream. Project Monarch doesn't get that treatment. There's not one article on it. It gets something more specific. It gets redirected to a single person with a preloaded discrediting mechanism. Everything else is essentially wiped on Google. Basically, the result isn't "this is dumb and not real." The result is, here is the person you shouldn't believe without even understanding what she said, and then some random butterfly results. Okay, but what's strange is Google knows exactly what you're looking for when you type in Project Monarch. But look at the rest of the results. A butterfly science center, an app, a monarch migration tracking study. It's not even acknowledging the conspiracy. It doesn't do what it does for every other conspiracy topic, giving you these skeptic articles. It does one thing and one thing only. It sends you to Kathy O'Brien. What you might not know is that Project Monarch is a pre-internet topic. It was being discussed in 1995. That's over 30 years of material. There were entire YouTube channels devoted to this before the 2010s filter. Hundreds if not thousands of videos. So if you remember the old internet, you know this genre was everywhere. Album covers, music videos, celebrity photo shoots, the butterfly imagery on everything. Now if you try to find it, it's been erased. So the question is, what if MKUltra didn't stop in 1973? What if it evolved for the purpose of creating people who were not aware of their programming? This is what the internet has termed Project Monarch.
So, yeah, there we go. Like I mean, I'll play a little bit more, but this video is long enough, to be honest. Again, Mind Unveiled is the channel. The video's an hour and 11 minutes long. We haven't even played 11 minutes of it. So, yeah, come and watch the video on the channel. I'm just kind of mentioning all three things that are things to look into, really, but the massive subjects in themselves. So there's MK Ultra, Mind Control, Project Monarch, and um, the Montauk project, which is kind of what Stranger Things is about. This over here as well, the Franklin conspiracy, the satanic trafficking cult, America Forgot, another one. Good there. I'll maybe mention that in another video, to be honest. So yeah, this it's all fucked up. Mind control, like again, abuse, again, satanic abuse as well can help compartmentalize the mind. So a lot of these celebrities, people believe, and there's good evidence for it. Again, Britney Spears for me is an absolute prime candidate. That a lot of people are mind controlled and minds are compartmentalized. I mean, another one was oh god, she used to be a play bunny. Oh god, forgot her name now. Forgot her name. She died, blonde hair, and hold on, I'll try and find who it was. Oh, Anna Nicole Smith. That's the name I was looking for. Again, a bit controversial, and married the old timer here, and all got disputed. Yeah, died on the 8th of Feb 2007. So a lot of people thought she was an MK Ultra victim as well. Again, there was many videos of her back in the day being like acting weird and acting like a child. And sometimes one of the minds, um, one of the personalities, like two of the personalities, if you sort of look into it, one is like the sex kitten personality. Again, for the women, again, Anna Nicole Smith, Britney Spears, all these sort of playgirls, etc. Sort of the sex kitten mind. They also have like a child mind as well. Again, this is often the mind that they're abused in, like the child mind. And there is videos of like Anna Nicole Smith acting like a child on like multiple occasions and like talking like a child. So yeah, she was very much thought of as well as an MK Ultra victim. Anna Nicole Smith. Again, there's probably videos about that on YouTube if you wanted to look into it, and the evidence as to why people thought she was an MK Ultra victim. Again, things I mentioned there about her talking like a child and like multiple times, and it wasn't like an act. It was weird. There was a few of them, a few other things as well, and she was always off the rails and this kind of thing. And again, that's often because the abused mind, as you get older, it's like Britney. It can't separate them. The minds start to converge, so the abuse mind starts to leak through. So yeah, it's an explanation as to why these beautiful girls start going off the rails in later life, and it's probably because they were abused in sex trafficking rings like Epstein, and becoming famous and making a name for yourself is a bad thing, because you're in effect highlighting yourself to these people. Like they'll be completely unaware of you and your child if you just, you know what I mean, you just live a normal life, and you don't the minute you put your child in like beauty pageants and things like this, well, it's like, again, Donald Trump's beauty pageants as well, you know what I mean? So yeah, this is kind of what happens. And when you become famous and you put yourself out there, well, you put yourself out for these people as well, these creeps, to fucking snatch you and fucking abuse you. And again, some of these people's parents will sell the kids. That's how sick it is. I mean, there's cracks there that Ferguson was giving Eugene and Beatrice up, you know what I mean? So it's a fucking sick world we're living in here, and people will do a lot of things for money and power, possibly even sell the children here. And again, these people probably think, well, I can just have more children, you know what I mean? I mean, there's big questions about Madeleine McCann here, and the McCanns as well, and all this background, and their background to politics, and Gordon Brown, etc. Yeah, there's some bad links there as well, to be honest. I mean, I think it'll come out that there is some involvement. Again, even the photo fit of the woman, to be honest, that there was a photo fit of the woman that was thought to have snatched Madeleine McCann, and it was the spitting image of Ghislaine Maxwell when she was younger. So I would be very, very suspicious of the whole Madeleine McCann affair as well. So I'll play a bit more of this.
Claim is that Project Monarch is a secret subset of MKUltra that continued after it was officially shut down. The focus is called alters, separate personality states that can be triggered and controlled independently from the person's primary conscious identity. The result is a person who doesn't know they carry it. The symbol the internet associates with all of this is the butterfly, specifically the monarch butterfly. A monarch is a ruler, a king, someone with total authority over those beneath them. If you were online in 2010, then you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's everywhere. The butterfly, the checkerboard floors, the one-eye symbolism, the kitten print. Then around 2016, the genre just started disappearing. But keep in mind, the internet didn't come up with any of this. Before YouTube, there was a woman named Candy Jones. That was her stage name. Her real name was Jessica Wilcox. She was a successful model and a radio host. Under hypnotherapy, she revealed she had an alter named Arlene Grant, a separate personality that had worked for the CIA without her primary identity ever knowing about it. Her husband documented everything. The book came out in 1976, before the internet, before Reddit, and YouTube. And then there's the woman who comes up every single time you search this topic. But she didn't find this on the internet, she lived it. Her name is Kathy O'Brien. Yes, the one result that comes up when you search this. Well, let's take a look at what she actually says. In 1995, she published a book called Transformation of America, written with her partner, Mark Phillips. What's interesting about this is, it's not like she posted this on some blog. She literally submitted it as a formal congressional disclosure. And the title isn't Transformation of America, it's Transformation. Also, her co-author Mark Phillips spent decades as a DoD subcontractor in behavior modification research. He signed an oath of secrecy. That's the man who co-wrote this book. Opens it with a thesis. The thesis is bigger than just one survivor's story. He's arguing that mind control operates at two levels. The hard tier is what happened to Kathy. Trauma-based conditioning starting in childhood. Compartmentalized identities. We're talking about controlling people, from abuse victims to politicians and celebrities. The soft tier is what's happening to everyone else. You are under a trance.
Well, I'm not, but if you're listening to this and you're this far through the video, I would suggest you're probably not under a trance either. You're not one of the sheep here, or the zombies. It's another word for the sheep, the zombies. So yeah, again, I wouldn't necessarily say that we are. I'm definitely not under a trance here. I'm very well aware of all of this, of the economy, the World War III, the global elite, Agenda 30, fucking Economic Forum, fucking the Epstein files, the Satanists, the fucking, you name it. I'm on the ball here, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't think we are. Stage 2 here, we're no stage, we're rising above all of this and making it known, to be honest, making it known. So, I'm going to leave it there. Again, there's an hour left of this if you want to come and watch it. Again, good video. The video I mentioned before as well, good video. More detail as to what the hell's going on here, about this mind control, about this MKUltra, which you have been told about. There's somebody else has got a song called MKUltra. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. There is another band that's got the song MKUltra is the name of the song as well. So, yeah, mind control. Again, Anna Nicole Smith, again, dead now, but I think she was a victim of it. Britney Spears in modern times looked like she's a victim of mind control. Again, her mind is breaking down due to the abuse and due to the abuse. And again, this is kind of what happens. Again, if you kind of start looking into this, it will be mentioned, everything I've said there about the mind breaking down as people get older. So yeah, that's kind of the crack. MKUltra, Project Montauk, and Monarch Project. Well, again, a lot more detail if you want to look into them. Also, the Franklin conspiracy, the satanic trafficking cult America forgot as well. Another, I'll maybe make a video on that at some point, mention it. So yeah, that's the kind of crack. This video is nearly an hour long, so I'll leave it there. But yeah, so well, we're not the sheep anyway. We're not the zombies here. Oh, but all fucked up stuff. Do you know what I mean? All fucked up. Again, some people won't believe it's possible, but it truly is. It all came out about MK Ultra in the 70s there in like a committee. So yeah, and again, he showed you on this video. If you type MK Ultra in, it tells you like a CIA experiment. So everybody again should kind of know what the CIA gets up to. You know what I mean? Again, that well, yeah. All the Nazis that they stole in Operation Paperclip after the Second World War, everything that the Nazis were getting up to, America carried it on in the CIA, you know what I mean? Again, the moon landing was von Braun, etc. So, yeah, that's kind of what happened. We'll leave it there anyway. Peace.